cannot walk a kilometer in Tembisa without finding an addict.
Sure.
That's a result of ama-ground up bias, either value imikhukhu or now come office. So yeah, Delagofa, it's an informal settlement.
Sure.
And in Delagofa, there isn't any role model. People become nothing there, not with disrespect, but the only thing you want is survival. And I grew up in that space where a gunshot wasn't a scare. A gunshot was a normal thing.
Sure.
You'd wake up and find a dead body on the street, and those things were normal. I'm from that space.
Imagine.
And kids being parents, because I knew as a kid that I'm going to be a global star one day. I cannot smoke, I cannot drink, and I need to speak English fluent. Hey man, Brian, ngifuna ukuringa isingamla, ngithenge ziphi incwadi, and there are these books that are written English noun, verb, and then English action words. And that guy used to sell me those books, and because of
JP Forest phakathi kwequantum sirenga wonke umzansi boy isukile boy.
Let's go right to the sound of good times. Let's go right to the sound of good times. Tinana machita spetu cheru betu.
Another day, another dollar, another podcast, another episode, another opportunity to inspire and transform lives. Itahola, Shafere, welcome to another exciting episode of the Quantum Podcast. The podcast yasekasi, the podcast yabantu, the podcast yomphakathi bafethi. We are coming to you live from Moses Mulelekwa Art Center, Tembisa, Kopanong section. Vandag bafethu, ku Passenger City, ngiphethe inja yegame, ngiphethe iPioneer yaseTembisa yetheater. Ngiphethe the great X, ngiphethe the one and only Mxolisi Masilela. Asimshayeleni izandla. Awe. Awuthiyami. Ugrand awuthiyami.
great.
Gawula amaswiti yasincinja.
Kulawasele America. Seleliwa.
Yo, what's up? I'm chilling with the American. International. Umnandi uthiyami.
Great.
Mfethu long time ngisakwazi yo.
Mina futhi ngithathe iCovid.
Never. I'm not a dang type ngiyangicaba. Angiyakuzwa uthi mfethu uthi lama sithi wabha eAmerica.
Ukugcina bekusela iphakanyana.
So these are not sweets, these are candies.
Candies. Candies.
Awe umnandi njalo.
Great.
Sure. Awusitshele mfethu ubani uMxolisi Masilela abantu bakhonta bazofuna ukwazi mfethu ukuthi kahle ngiblome nobani.
Mxolisi has different heads and different spaces where he functions.
Should lesigcoka isiso kuphela nje.
Sibaya dana. So my name is Mxolisi Masilela. I'm the Great. I call myself Mxolisi Masilela the Great.
Sure.
But some artists long time ago began to call me the Great. So I was born here in Tembisa, raised in Tembisa. And I started theater when I was 9 years old. So opposite here, Begune ground here. So now they're building some offices and what. Okay. So at the age of 9, we were playing soccer there, and in this center, at that time, Besnagai changed to be a theater space. So the only place to drink water was the center.
Sure.
It was known as Tepo Art Center then. It wasn't Moses Mulelekwa Art Center. And we came in here, and there was a theater festival. And when I walked in, I found a play on stage. And from that moment, I said I wanted to do this thing, I didn't want to watch. I wanted to be the one they are watching.
Okay.
And I met the late Upamalachi and then Upralaki Khafela.
Sure.
And then I
Professor.
said, Professor, I want to do this thing, They said I must come on Monday. Kabupralaki.
Sure.
And from then, I began to do this thing till today.
All right. Uthiyama ubonakala njengamchitho kodwa le disc.
Angitswemo blind.
Mina ngaze ngeze ukuthi athi inkomo.
Mina idisc.
Sure. Udlala position.
Abengidefender mfethu.
Okay.
with soccer also, I did not stop because I was doing theater and playing soccer, doing theater and playing soccer. But what made me to stop playing soccer at some point, the only star we had when we were growing up was Jeris Kosan. And I was asking myself, see,
Ufuna ukuthini nje bekakhona page mahla ngadlala iSundowns.
but man, Jeris Kosan was a
Sure,
star.
most definitely. Yeah, angisho
Jeris
ne-star
Kosan
vele.
was,
Angisho ne-star.
you know?
Uyocova i-star saka 95 sephakani.
And I mean, it's difficult to look at all of us and only have one person from the township
Sure.
who makes it to PSL. And I said, you know what? While I'm still young, I think there are many actors and many people who became successful in theater and in television and in film in Tembisa. I think I'm going to pursue this one.
Okay.
And then slowly I stopped playing soccer.
Sure.
And I focused on theater. And over time, Nakona, because I'm really innovative and also chasing new spaces and new territories into how to create a community of storytellers, you know.
Sure.
And I began to go to the Market Theatre every Saturday when I was 13 years old to go watch plays, you know, see professional plays. And at the Market Theatre, they had showcases every Saturday. And as young kids would sit on the floor and watch these plays and listen to the theatre gurus giving talk back to these amazing plays. And from there, I began to think differently about theatre. Because at Tembisa, you know, it was just community halls and community festivals. And I began to have conversation about we can have our own theater, you know.
Sure.
And today we are sitting here, we have a theater that we've built ourselves. And yeah, man, that's
Yeah,
how
man,
I
that's what's
continue
up. Eh?
doing that.
Yini umehluko phakathi kwe-sketch ne-theatre?
Sketch is sketch, theater, theater. So, I mean, there's...
Because thina ekhaya abantu abekuthabe sibabiza hayi lezi sishaya isketch yabutho.
Yeah, but also, sketch is from sketching, you know. And then
Oh, the word sketch, it originates from the word sketching.
yeah, you are
Okay.
sketching something.
Sure.
It's not like abantu bafila ngathi about disrespect about buying sketch. I mean, I also tell people good time and sketch for a living. You know?
Sure.
It's also sketching these stories, you know, and that's what we do. We sketch stories and then present them in front of people.
Sure.
But people have a tendency of using the word sketching in a very disrespectful way, you know.
Sure.
So I've never used it like that. Today,
Okay.
ngikunze cash, cash.
Mina uthami wani mention ngaqala ukuyibona ngawe. Jima ugcwale theater, nini kudlala ingoma yakaMandoza, qalotho. Wenzani lo mjidi? But I was so impressed, bro.
Yeah,
Sure. Before siza lapho, ukhulume ngendaba ye-ground abayikhawathayo nobashaya ama-offices and stuff. So ufila njani ngaleyo project leyo because of mina I feel ukuthi babula development because of if abachundi then bakha imikhukhu or abashaya ama-RDP houses. Sina masikhwelekazi nje kunama-ground apaya. That's why we even produced ama-soccer stars apaya now.
Yeah, for me, Picham is also looking at how big Tembisa is and only having one center, you know, having Moses Muleleko Art Center with probably 100 different or 100 plus different organizations in Tembisa who are art practitioners who have to share this venue, you know, and also for it to be what it is, me and my team, we had to really find ways to fundraise and convert it into a proper theater space.
Sure.
And if you're looking at recreation centers, summer ground, parks, nobody takes care of that. And what happens to the young people that those places have kept them sane, you know, have kept them out of the street so that we could have also well-groomed young men and young women. But as I said,
sure.
And now we're looking at the results of drugs being the only thing that we see. You cannot walk a kilometer in Tembisa without finding an addict.
Sure.
That's a result of ground up bias, either value cook or now ba kama office. Stadium, when last was this stadium opened?
Makhulung Stadium?
Never. Since in
Highlands Park. Sure.
After Highlands Park, done, you know.
So I even Highlands Park, banga si team asikas.
You know,
because the original team is now Team
Classic. Yeah. Sure. And then Ivali were riding. And for me is, I think our government and local municipalities, they just need to have the conversation, or we need to take it upon ourselves and really find these places where we could have young people being groomed as young people and becoming what we hope to see in the future.
Sure.
For me, I could but you know, money talks.
Yeah, most definitely. Kona abantu abakupower vele, kona abantu abayenza ngama decisions.
And also it's a business place now. If you look at it, they're thinking of profit margins, they're thinking of and how they're going to succeed as business people.
Sure.
But no one is really interested or invested in social development, you know. How would we going to develop these young people and create spaces for them to function and to be well developed community members.
Sure.
But I say right. Sikhulisa bunyawupe no dog.
Mfethu go rough out here. So yeah, you're running theater at Moses Mulelekwa Art Center.
Sure.
So ukwambona Moses Mulelekwa kwahlangana naye before.
No, I've read so much about Moses Mulelekwa, an amazing jazz musician.
But you ngakambona.
No.
Oh.
Okay. So we spent time together in New York. No Zoe Mulelekwa.
All right.
He just graduated in the New York Music Academy. So I graduated this year.
Sure.
So I was with Moses Mulelekwa's son and Montesmazi
Tamala,
chief,
sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I haven't met him, but also read about his tragic death in the media.
Sure.
So I know quite a lot about Moses.
Yeah.
And also what we are building, Zoe, is in a pipeline. How do we recreate and really tell a musical story and musical genuine celebration of his father?
Sure.
So yeah, that's far. I know much because also in research to create that musical production. Yeah.
Awe. So manje awuthiyami usitshelile kancane ukuthi udlalile idisco intwana. But just take us through your upbringing. Sazi ukuthi Mxolisi omncane bekayenza.
Well, I was raised by my mother. So I was born in a family that is like a mother and a father married family. And my
healthy family,
sure. Proper family. And my father being a superhero, but I only spent 6 years with my father, yeah. And at the age of 6, my father left. But when we asked my mother would say, "Itamana country." They used to have this thing.
Sure.
Itamana country.
I should be having a truck strong. Sure.
But no, he wasn't a truck driver. But I think my father left at that point,
Oh.
And when I was 13, I saw him again. But I think he was just visiting or whatever. And then from there, I never saw my father. And I only saw my father when I was 31, which it was on 2022.
Okay.
So I grew up in that family. And I grew up and I was raised by this amazing woman who was a superhero. My mother, the Gaspani Makishin, but I did not even know that we're poor until we're grade 12. My grade 12, but needs and wants. I said, oh man, damn, poor.
Sure.
They're referring to us. Yeah, but my mom closed that gap. I don't remember, man, feeling somehow. The only thing that me and my mom did not agree on was my mom did not approve of me being an artist.
Okay.
And also is a lack of understanding. My mom did not understand that what is it that I want to do, and because they knew artists as people who are dying poor, who are not going to be anything in their lives.
Sure.
And from then my mom says, "You are going to be a doctor." And also being a single mother raising 3 boys, you want what's best for them. And education become the only tool that you could now impose and really instill in your kids.
Sure.
So I grew up in a space where I was made to think that I'm going to be a medical doctor. And look at me now, traveling the world, telling stories. It never happened.
Sure.
But a quick story, when I was in grade 11, I was doing a play called Maru. And then after Maru, we did a play called Umabata, which is an adaptation of Macbeth at the State Theatre.
Sure.
So I was also tired of hiding when I go to do theatre because my mom does not approve of it. And I wrote my mom a letter and said, if you are my mother and you gave birth to me, you're going to come watch this play that I'm doing at the South African State Theatre. And then I left also money on top of the table and I left and I went to the performance. Before the performance could commence, I went outside just to check if my mom was there. And then my heart sank to my stomach. I'm saying, yo, Shuguti, she's not my mother because I wrote a letter. Only to find out when I left the foyer, my mom came in, and I went to stage with this heavy heart, but I said, I'm doing this for myself. And I moved that performance. And when I walked out, we got a standing ovation. We won that festival that year with that play. And my mom was in tears. And then she apologized and said, Yo, Mtanam, I didn't know what you were doing. Hence I said no. But from this day on, I'm going to be a number 1 fan and a supporter.
Sure.
Until she passed on. Until she passed on, she was my supporter and she was my fan,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So i-affect kangakanani indaba yokuthi mawulila vibe because ngeke ngakubona ubhale ngayo social media uthiya. So sicela nje usisharele kancane mhlambe ingamotivate umunye umuntu ngithiwa or comfort.
Ish.
Sure.
I'm not a comfort.
Yeah, just share your story.
Also, being raised by a single mother
Mm.
and your mother being the only person who cheers you up, who makes sure that you get the things that you want to get. And when you win everything, even if it's an article about me that is written for a play that I've done at the market or whatever, or I'm international, she would walk around the street and tell people that my son is now an international artist, my son is a theater director, and everything that I would achieve, it will be a great achievement when she hears it. But when she passed on, I've lost meaning of doing what I'm doing.
Ish.
You know?
Yeah.
And I sit and ask myself, why am I doing it now?
Mm.
And that's the hardest part. And it's something that also I'm trying to answer for myself. But I mean, it's recent.
Sure.
I don't have that thing anymore. Because also I've been winning things since I won the silver. I started bank silver last year at the National Arts Festival.
Sure.
But I don't know how to celebrate it now.
Ish. Yeah.
I've been awarded to be a fellow in Netherlands for 3 years. I'll be spending 3 years going to New York.
Sure.
But there isn't any celebration of it because
Khona lento eshodayo.
doing it for this woman,
Sure. Manje
Because
akasekho.
akasekho.
Ish.
So for me is finding that thing again. Is how
Okay.
do I find it again?
One day at a time, bro.
Yeah. So when she
Yeah.
passed on, she was wearing this scarf. So
Oh, okay.
I can't.
Okay.
I'm trying also to
this is a
be
special scarf.
very special.
Hey, I
So
think Tasholi.
yeah,
I think
That's
Tasholi.
my blessing.
Sure.
Yeah. So
Ngike ngabona uthi yamubhalile ku social media again. Actually ngiyakufollow yo. Yabona uthi Sure. So ngike ngakubona ubhale ku social media ubhale about your upbringing ukuthi ukhulele eWinnie Mandela emkhukhwini. Understand?
Sure.
So washare story sakho. Sicela nje usishare kancane leso story leso if uyayikhumbula the article yabo ukuthi ubhale ngani lapha because yo mfethu iyangithasha, I don't want to lie to you. Iyangithasha because of sometimes you don't know what you have until it's gone yabo.
Yeah, sure.
So yabo because of abanye abantu banezinto ezigrand yabo. Nini bayaziluza, that's why ngithi you never know what you have until you're gone. Because khona abanye abantu ba-appreciate izinto ezincane uthi mfethu like ngikhulele emkhukhwini but bengilala ngigawulile. Yamthola. Usisharele kancane.
Well, I'll try and remember.
Sure.
So it's a very
Ngeke
long.
ukhumbule exactly, I
It's
know.
a very long article.
No, asizoyiposta.
Sure.
Yeah, we share it on the screen.
Sure. And also is like I said, from birth till 6, things were good. My father was around, and everything was fine. But from 6 till I was older, we moved to Ematelagofa, not Winnie Mandela.
Yeah, uthi eMatela.
Sure. Yeah, Ematelagofa, it's an informal settlement.
Sure.
And in Ematelagofa, there isn't any role model.
Ish.
People become nothing there, not with disrespect, but the only thing you want is survival. And I grew up in that space where a gunshot wasn't a scare. A gunshot was a normal thing.
Sure.
You'd wake up and find a dead body on the street, and those things were normal. I'm from that space.
Imagine.
And kids being parents. But at some point, I think my mom realized that this is not a good space for us to dream, or this is not a good space for her to raise us. And then that's when we moved to Winnie Mandela. Fortunately, Winnie Mandela, she got an RDP house, and we begin to live in a very somehow a formal space.
Sure.
But to think of
big improvement.
Yeah, it was a huge improvement.
Sure.
I knew electricity in 2010. Like to say there's electricity in the house, like in like 2010. Playing with the switch.
Masibukeli World Cup.
Yeah, believe it is here. And just after.
So when you felt it, Mama, you feel it is here. When you felt it.
Electricity was after
Okay,
World Cup. Towards the end of the year.
Sure.
And I was old. I mean, I was at Windebrow in a drama school doing theater at Windebrow.
Sure.
So, and Matelago for Brown is a space where people are just, they wake up to survive. You cannot have conversations in Matelago about being an actor, being a doctor, because we do not have those role models.
Sure.
Role models were stolen cars, and police are going to shoot at night, and that's what has raised us to be to be these people, you know.
Sure.
And fortunate enough, that's why I'm saying I come from a place where people become nothing, because people of Nkulena, but the only one that still exists that I know is Upeseni, who is also a theater maker who
Sure,
runs
sure,
an
sure. Aphe
organization,
sina
you
ngiyamcabanga.
know. Oh,
Ayisha igame na.
and Umandla Matonzi, you
Oh,
know.
Mandla,
Yeah,
yo.
so the three of
Uphi
us.
uMandla vele.
Go on, Umandla.
Yo,
I think now is
mara nase TV angisamboni ora kusashaya TV.
how much you grow and maybe choose different
Sure,
careers,
sure,
because
sure,
yeah,
sure.
it's been a while now since
Yeah, ngiyamkhumbula kuma rhythm seats and stuff. Yeah,
sure,
uyathola
sure,
ama-gig agree.
sure, yeah.
Sure.
So we are from that space, Mpicham. We're from
Okay.
that space where people would shoot people would stab people, you know,
Mm,
and that was the music of the day.
sure.
And I'm fortunate that I became something. I
Yeah.
became something.
All
you know.
right.
So the article was basically about that. And I go there from time to time just to remind myself, you know,
Okay. Okay.
this is where
Just nje
I
to touch
come
base
from.
nje nale ndawo leya kuphela yabo.
Yeah.
Sure.
And also to remember, like you said,
Mm,
you don't realize what you have until it's gone.
most definitely.
And me going there is like also finding
It's a
touch
constantly
with
reminder.
touch with myself again.
Sure, sure.
This is, you know.
Mm.
And also there's a big play that I've written about my life called These Are Not My Shoes, which is the
Oh, these are not
most
my shoes about you. All
yeah.
right.
So
All right.
it has everything to do with me and my upbringing. And we're going to do that play during the men's month, you know.
Mommy.
Yeah, because of also of men mental health and issues
Oh,
surrounding men,
okay.
you know, and
Okay.
find ways of
Mm.
boys who grow up to be fathers, you know,
Mm.
fatherless men who become fathers, you know, and boys who step up to be fathers at young ages. So
Sure.
the play is about that, but it's based on me and how my mother has raised me and my younger brother Temba.
All right. All right.
Yeah,
Asham. Now I feel you. So,
sure.
awuthi ke asire nge-TX.
That's
I'm putting a
right.
TX record. TX theater. Asire nge-TX theater. Yini TX theater? Inspiration ye-TX theater ibuyaphi like ukuthi okay uqale dide neyiqalile nomongezi and your partners.
Sure, sure.
So, yeah, wasisharela kancane.
So TX Theatre started 2008, you know.
Okay, before uqhubeka yini TX imeleni? TX.
So TX Theatre stands for Live and Recorded Theatre Productions. So TX in TV terms stands for live recorded.
Oh,
So
okay.
this is live recorded theatre
Sure,
productions.
sure.
But it wasn't live and
thina masibona
recorded.
u-X sikhule sazi ukuthi umxolisi u-X.
Yeah.
Lo.
Well, it works too. But also there's because there's an artist that how it before it became a company. So there's a guy called Temba, whom the one hander that you remember around
Sure.
2008,
Yeah.
2009.
Yeah.
He directed me in that play, you know. So we're doing festivals. When we're doing festivals,
This is Themba Maphanga, Themba
Temba Mahlangu.
Mahlangu. Uva Mthimbane
I'm Kenes, but they did a show at Jimistin not long
Oh,
ago.
mara kasablome Tembisa.
I'm Kenes.
Okay, asiqhubeke uthi.
We lost touch. You know?
Sure.
So when we did, because we're winning all the festivals around Tembisa and across the country with that one hander,
Sure.
we small. So when they ask, you know, they would ask, what's the name of the production? Because the Siserutanang, I think. No, because it's big Siserutanang.
Sure.
So we're not a company at all,
Yeah.
you know. And then it was, okay, I Temba and Olani production.
Sure,
you know?
yeah.
And then we continued Temba and Olani.
Oh,
TNX,
TNX,
you know. But when it grew to be a company, and that's the only work we did together, which is that one hander. But when I grew it into being a company, I couldn't use me and him because we are not partners in
Anymore.
in building
yeah,
theater company.
okay.
And the theater company, I established it in 2008, but it was formally registered in 2014, you know.
Okay.
And people are very instrumental in registering the company. I did a play called Queen, the Chosen One.
Ja, leyo ngehlala singaringi ngayo. Uyacaba ukuthi ngincanywa kanjani.
Sure. So when those guys came, I said, because bengisahlale Winnie,
Sure.
I said with the gents down, says, okay, I have this theater company because I was also doing workshops, doing stuff, and the name grew, you know, and then became the TX Theater Production. And when I registered it, I said, I do not want it to have Temba and Kolani thing.
Sure.
Know? How do I register it as its own entity? And with the gents, we came with live and recorded theater productions,
Sure.
which it was. I need to mention this, guys. It was Lucky,
Lucky.
Nesh Mahubane,
Sure.
Mongezi Mabunda,
Sure.
Bandile Mabunda, Lungamnisi,
Yeah.
Justice Picheng,
Justice.
Josias Mashiane,
Sure.
Solomon Mashiane,
Yeah.
Tepo Apane, Peter Masuku.
Sure.
So we're 9 gens when this thing started. Well, when they came into
Ngikhumbula
my
ngalama
dream,
t-shirt wenu
yeah.
we Queen.
So invited
Eh,
and
nidli stoko strong.
the
Nifikile kazi.
Monka,
Benifikile kazi yo, benimosha lapha.
Hey, angazi ukuthi sikhuluma ngani.
Afera sidlule lapho senithaba lobu.
Siyakhuluma ngiyazi.
Yasishashaya.
Uyasho.
Yasishashaya. Manje vela ngalikhipha zeni lezi hayi. Bekuhlanye theater yonke.
I mean, we're young. I mean,
Sure.
it's 2012.
Sure.
Now is what?
Yeah, sure.
We are more responsible, man.
Yeah, most definitely.
But over time is and then it was only about producing works because
Sure.
I remember my history was going to the Market Theatre and the Windebrow and the Joburg Theatre, and I would see these amazing works, and my desire was to do similar works to the ones that I see in the mainstream.
Sure.
And I began to produce those works. And one of first production was Queen, thinking from the mainstream point of view, and that's why it was created the way it was created.
Sure.
And it went all over now, you know. But over time, people have different dreams, you know. They begin to. Justice chose TV, went straight to pursue TV. Josias stayed longer, even, you know, because the inception of the first TX Theatre, Josias was here. He was the head lighting designer, head set designer. All the technical stuff was done by Josias. But he got an opportunity to go study with the Market Theatre and went to Las Vegas School of Lighting, and came back and became the residential lighting designer of the Market. And now he works in a cruise between Europe and America.
Wow.
Solomon went to Baxter to train, and now he works as a production manager at the Baxter Theatre in Cape Town. Peter Masuku works for Bitverse, which chose accounting. Nesh went to pursue studies, went to Verts, completed his honors degree, and then worked.
And I saw him on TV recently.
Yeah, he worked for all these production houses as an AD, and then sometimes doubling as an actor. But is also back in theater now. But he also went to pursue TV for long. Bandile went to do civil engineering. Lunga went to pursue music and dance. He lived in Turkey and India for some time.
Kahle uyu Queen out here.
Yeah,
ngale voice yakhe.
Yeah.
Yo, phela Queen enye into beyiminisa ukuthi it was musical.
Yeah, it was musical. Yo.
Ngale voice kalunga out here. Oh.
Yeah. And then I remained with Mongezi, you know.
Sure.
And now I sat with Mongezi down and I began to really share these visions with him, you know.
Sure.
To share these dreams with him. Said, Doc, this is what we need to do. And Mongezi did accounting in school, you know. And family on his back, you know. And he had a kid at that time. At that time.
Sure.
And then we needed to think of business and we needed to think of a way out, you know. And that's when we began to make these sacrifices, and that's why we have the TX Theatre today.
Sure.
But everyone has been instrumental. But also, you know, when we grow, we have different responsibilities and we choose different careers. But people who persevered to this point was me and Mongezi. And when we're developing the TX Theatre, Itumeleng Moketsi came, Itu Faith Tobejane came, because they were our partners then. And there were artists then, and we needed to have gender balance. And Tina Stai, let's go in. And here's the thing, it started like that, but they became so instrumental in the company, you know. They took also administration of the TX Theatre, they took coordination and relations of the TX Theatre to a point where we never imagined, you know. And they also played a very huge part in growing the TX Theatre. Hence, I would say, yeah, I'm the founder and the CEO and the artistic director, but there are people who are very instrumental for the TX Theatre to be what it is today. And TX Theatre have like different generations, you know. There's a generation, now we have a new, different young people who speak and do things that I never imagined possible. You know, there was a generation Abu Bigi, and is an amazing lighting designer, who did lot of dance works, but he now works for a bank. But is coming to design my show that I'm working on now. And then after Upigi, we had Sizwe Ndaban, who's also an amazing sounding designer and a lighting designer. And then we had a group of about 30 interns about 2 years ago. And from those 30 interns, we have three amazing that had persevered and stayed to this point. Charmaine, who's doing lighting now, she's an amazing lighting designer, a first female lighting designer that you've had at the TX Theatre. And you have Mashudu, who's taking all the pictures, all the videos that you see about the TX Theatre.
Sure.
You know, and have Sbahle, who talks to everyone and makes sure that everyone is happy and things are going accordingly. So, as the founder and the CEO of this company, I've been blessed with different groups of amazing people, dog, who come and see things that
Sure, sure.
and also most of the things is like me and Mongezi worry about how to find money for this company, how to make this company to be part of the global conversation, you know. Bona, they make sure that there's a show, you know, there's a show that's running, people are happy, there's a setup. You know, this is just a hall. It's a theater because we've set it up.
Sure.
After tomorrow, it goes back to just a hall, you know. And they make sure that it happens.
Sure.
So for me, TX Theatre has been that, and its history has been written in a book with an amazing board member of the TX Theatre who joined it 4 years ago. Her name is Dr. Refilo Lepere. Me and her and other writers, Dr. Katlego Charlie, who just also graduated as a doctor now. We wrote a 10-year existence of the TX Theatre, which is going to be launched now during the Tembisa Theatre Week. So TX Theatre has amazing people that support it, you know. From Georgetown University, there's an amazing woman called Dr. Anita Gonzalez. She's very instrumental also in taking me to the US and also finding exchange works with the TX Theatre and artists from the TX. And there's another amazing woman from the inception of the TX Theatre, Debbie Armanas. She lives in Australia, Sydney. She's been very instrumental from the inception to this day, you know. Antonio Lyons, you know, Refilio Nkomo, she was the director of what do you call the visual arts organization in Johannesburg. So the Waruna Siane, who's also been instrumental from the inception of the TX Theatre, you know. And artists like Umruti Abednego Dlamini, when we started the Kuwamba Joe Women's Theatre Festival, he was the first actor who performed to open that program. And he performed on top of the mountain outside saying Kuwamba, Kuwamba, you know. And we had nothing but just dreams, you know. And they said yes, you know. Abu Mamzulu Kele, Abu the late Happy Khafela. Those were people I've trained myself to direct, you know. So I mean, there's been growth over the years. And for me to live in Australia for 2018 was Debbie Armonas who says, hey, what do you want to do? I said, I want to be in Australia and learn how to do this theater thing. Well, I hated school since I was a kid. I don't know how I got to grade 12 or my mother, but I hated school. Yeah, so Debbie says, okay, I can bring you to Australia, but for you to come to Australia, you need to come to this university and be part of this course. I said, oh, damn, I want to go to Australia. And I went to Australia, and she paid for me to stay there 2018 to do a course in National Institution of Dramatic Arts in Australia, you know. Stayed in Australia doing that course, and I completed it and came back home. Well, it's not a graduate, it's not a diploma or a degree. No, I did not got that far with education in my life. I just did this short certificate in theater and performance. And also the bigger thing about me and Debbie, when I was in grade 12, I couldn't speak English, you know, from the TKM. Not to bash TKM, but we did English in spade, you know. English wasn't English, you know. And for me to participate in the global market, because I knew as a kid that I'm going to be a global star one day, I cannot smoke, I cannot drink, and I need to speak English fluently, you know, because English is the global language. To this day, I don't smoke, I don't drink, because as a kid, this is what I said, I'm going to be this thing, and I'm going to keep this thing. And when you grow older, you realize there's nothing wrong with drinking, there's nothing wrong with smoking. But because of that kid in me that had this dream that
ngamangala first time ngizwe ukuthi awuphuzi because besinokubloma kuma-environment eyi-one ngiyabona ama-artist kuphela bonke bayabuhlaba yeah
don't
and
do
ublome
it.
nabo because bophila nabo
Then feel enough, because
Sure.
that's my even
Sure,
now.
sure.
I think my circle is very artistic, you know.
Sure.
Yeah. And then 2007. This is the point that I wanted to make. Debbie, she's from Australia, and she came with other Australians to a church conference that used to happen in Parkview under a church called Coptic Orthodox Church, where we begin to have also the ideas, because I grew up saying I'm going to be a monk at some day, and those ideologies and beliefs were instilled during that time, and we go to the monastery in Kalinin and stay with monks and practice all these monastery practices and beliefs and prayers and all of these things that the Coptic Orthodox Church will do. But the difficulty was to communicate in English, you know. But when we went to the market theater, they used to sell books, you know, any book, second-hand books. They'll put those books on the floor, R1, R1.50, you know. Then I went to this person who was selling these books, and I said, "Hey man, Brian, ngifuna ukuring isingamla, you know. Ngithenge ziphi incwadi?" And there are these books that are written English, noun, verb, you know, and then English action words. And that guy used to sell me those books. And because of that little English TKM, you would read, and over again, I began to read these books, you know. And over time, I began to buy the second-hand books. Now I can read books that are not just about verbs and nouns, but there's about stories, you know, novels, you know. And I began to read about Abu Peter Brook, who are great theater makers, and Abu Grotowski, Abu Konstantin Stanislavski, all these great theater makers, because these books were around the theater. And my English began to develop, and I began to write my plays now all my plays actually are written in English because of it was a practice for me to really be able to be eloquent and being expressive in English language. And when I went to Australia in 2018, I could speak English. And Debbie also organized public speaking gigs for me. I would speak publicly in these gigs, and I'd get paid for them, you know.
And
So
the more ringers, the more you confident.
yeah, and I remember Monges went to multiracial school. Muzi Mabunda.
Shout out to Muzi.
And Muzi was he's younger than me, and I've never said this, Muzi. Damn. So I told Muzi that, hey doc, mina ngihlale lokshin, but I want to learn this English thing. Never speak to me in Zulu or Pedi, doc. Speak to me in English. And if there's something I'm saying wrong, rectify me there and then. And he did that. Muzi did that for me. And also Velo Monges would speak English at any time. And I begin to be comfortable and eloquent because also I'm writing in English. I am reading English. At some point I was reading 3 to 4 books in 1 week, you know, so that I was obsessed with learning the language.
So Ivar with practice makes perfect.
Ivar.
Sure.
I don't have any qualification in writing. I've been publishing, I've written, I don't know how many plays, national and international. I'm publishing, I'm part of a publishing company. We published our first anthology. We're publishing our second anthology out. It's going to be launched during the Tembisa Theatre Week. I do not have any qualification in that, but practice has given me qualification. In directing, nobody has taught me directing. I've won all the awards in directing, but nobody has taught me that. Practice has taught me that.
Sure,
you know?
sure.
And I've traveled the world without any degree or diploma, but due to my practice. And nobody has taught me business. Doing business has taught me business, you know. And also understanding conversation and art business around me has taught me, and that practice has made me who I am.
Sure.
So yes, practice makes perfect.
Sure. But leaders are readers. So now mawufuna ukuba leader njengomxolisi Masilela, geleza bafethu, geleza incwadi, qala ngale ncwadi interested if uthanda music, geleza incwadi zomusic. Because uzoyiqeda vele.
Yeah, the truth about reading is not nice, you know?
Okay.
Over time you become addicted to it. If you do not do it, you feel like there's something wrong. You want to pick up a book and read.
Sure.
But when you start, there are books that are from page to page, but I cannot tell you what the book was about because it's not a nice thing. But over time, when you repeat it, it becomes, for me, I'm not saying this is general. Abantu banama degree, so they enjoy reading. But I'm talking about
Sure.
my breed,
Yeah.
my kind.
Sure.
That over time you begin to say, I love this, I love this, I love this, and you begin to understand the reading. Because when I first began to read, I would read everything and anything that I would find, but I wouldn't read big books. I would read like smaller books, 200, 180 pages books.
Sicala kanjalo.
Yeah, over time I found interest in philosophy. At some point I was reading about the great Alexandria, reading about all the greats of the world and how they discovered things and how they would explain things as philosophers.
Sure,
And I
sure.
said, okay, I'm beginning to read that. And now I'm interested in the tech books, how
Sure.
the future looks like in terms of technology and this AI that is coming and all of that, and how do we integrate that with humanity. It fascinates me all the time that, okay,
Sure.
everything looks like it's going digital, but this digital, this digital and AI thing does not exist without humans. Humanity is at the core of it. But how then do we begin to really find the conversation, and also how in the space that I operate in, how do we find ways to integrate or collaborate with the AI? And I started a thing of using AI as my assistant. If I have ideas, I would have conversation with the AI. So I'm thinking about writing this proposal for this project. Who is in Tembisa and whatnot, and what do you think? And you'd have those findings around it and refine it, and then also have the world of academia around me that I could also the findings after that I could send that to them, and they could also help in executing those things.
Sure.
So yeah, reading has been instrumental to me.
Most definitely, most
Yeah.
definitely. Asikhulume ngomxolisi is an actor. I want us to talk about your TV gigs because of earlier on ngikhulume ngathi hayi kwaba stars asekazi nje yakho. Thina iMzansi
Oh,
Magic
so
sicave
ngwini.
ngawo. Sicave ngawo
So
iMzansi
uthi
Magic.
ngwini.
Awaka nje amkhulile.
Uthi ngeke ngazi.
Awaka ngikhulile usenandawo nefame manje. Usuyi-businessman.
Star.
Awu-star nje. Awu-star. Kwaba stars asekazi nje yami. Besibhekela i-location bioscope because of where. Yabo sicave ngawe kwaba nomuntu omcavayo uthi ale out yami uzobatshela nawe ale out yami le out yami so wonke umuntu nasendlini bayacava ukuthi okay kunomxolisi Masilela esifuna ukumbukela yabo Mission Bioscope so awusigayile experience le bese sicover indaba yama Grahamstown because of now sikhuluma ngetheater also.
Okay, sharp.
Sure.
So TV happened a mistake, man. I think Temba and Justice came here, the center. They had auditions for Mnet.
Sure.
Mnet had a bubble gum factory that was producing the inception of Mzansi Bioscope. And they came in, they had script, and auditions were run back the following day. I'm a theater person.
Sure.
This TV thing, I'm not interested. But now we begin to rehearse as a group, and we have this conversation that we're gonna go to run back the following morning to audition. And we go there, and then there's a long queue. I'm not interested really to be a TV star. I love theater. My life is in theater. I don't have interest in this TV thing. And then Eli and I move, then we walk down and my chips. And then there was a chaos. Chaos. And then I think Temba or Justice went Pambili. And then they managed to get inside. When they were inside, they said he's outside, and then said I must come in, and I auditioned for Uncle and Sticks.
Uncle and Sticks.
Yeah, I auditioned for Uncle and Sticks, and I didn't have an agent then. And they said you must have an agent, and there was a director that had an agent or was establishing an agent then called Alex Mutswiri. I think it was African Tree Agency or something like that. Apologies if I'm butchering it, but Alex Mutswiri was the director of that agency, and I wrote his name and his number there.
Sure.
And then I forgot, came back, did my plays, and then I think a week after they called me and they said, hey, you've made it. You got a role as a lead for this short film. That
Imagine, and the book
yeah, I mean,
story sawuthandiswa amazwi
well, I've been an actor, I've been active,
Sure.
but TV I wasn't really. And and that's the only audition I've made or went through during my life as an actor. And after Uncle and Sticks, I moved the lead, and because I'm a theater practitioner, and here's another beautiful thing about it: the late Opamalachi was uncle and I was
Yeah, I
Steve,
remember.
you know?
And then Nakavala and the
Siyacabanga,
connection.
he directed him at some point.
Sure.
He directed me in 2 plays.
Sure.
So I'm going into this thing with a theater mindset that I need to know the whole script, you know. And then now I'm reading and finding this character and Opa we are rehearsing. The day we went to shoot, I know the whole script, you know. And I think also that's what gave me all the gigs on TV, because from Uncle and Sticks I did What Love, where I was playing Tabo. There's a love story. After that, I played Stash, where I was playing the lead, in a series.
Sure.
After Stash, I did Rockville. From that one, I did Rockville season 3, and then from Rockville, I went to do Majaka Tata at some point. But it gets tiring for me because remember, I'm in a space now. I'm beginning as an entrepreneur, and I'm thinking of the community. I'm not thinking of myself as an actor. And then that was somehow a clash, you know. And also, I'm an introvert, dog.
Sure.
The public began now to be too much, you know, and I couldn't.
But yona ikubustile financial because ngikhumbula bathi hawu ex ushaya iroom ngenyuku yase TV iva.
Yeah. I mean, you got TV bias.
Sure. Talo nemali uthi yabe. Ambhekele nje.
Ngenza icash.
Kozishasha. Yabazi abantu abahambule njengawo.
Singakhulunyu, anginanemo.
Afire asilinge Grahamstown.
Sure.
How was the experience, bro? Because every artist wanted to be there.
I was in Grahamstown in the year 2000. First time.
Sure. Uqala uku-act.
My guy, I've been in Grahamstown. So here's how Grahamstown happened for me.
Sure.
Opera Like was doing a play called Blind Faith, you know. In Blind Faith, I had one line. And the line, to this day, I still remember it, you know. And the line was coming at the end of the play. It was saying, "Hey, me, tola, ababulwen." That was my line in Grahamstown. The whole festival, I would every night, without fail, hide my costume, and then go to that stage and say, "Hey, me, hababulwen," you know.
Sure.
And from that year to this day, I go to Grahamstown every year as a tradition.
Sure. Professor. Shout out to Professor.
Professor. So we gave Professor a Lifetime Achievement Award last year because we have established
For real?
the Independent Theatre Makers Award.
Why ngayicavdi then?
Angisho.
Angimemanga uthami. Uprofessor ngisiphala naye kanje. Abafiri. Siyabonga abafini Ispanini.
So
well deserved. Well deserved.
Second annual is happening this year. Independent Theatre Makers Awards. So from Grahamstown, from then we've been going to Grahamstown till 2016. Then I took my company for the first time in 2016, which is the TX Theatre, with a production called Exhibition, which also did well, also season at the State Theatre, Joburg. Recently did adverts for the Academic Festival.
Okay.
And then 2018 I won a gold as a director, directing a play called Midumoya Barwa. There was a musical production award, Standard Bank Gold. And then the following year, I did my play again called Walls and Pillows, called the Standard Bank Ovation. Last year, I did an amazing production called Lena that got a Standard Bank Silver Ovation Award. And this year, as the TX Theatre Company, we are taking 6 productions to the National Arts Festival. And we are calling the program TX Theatre at the National Arts Festival.
Wow.
So that has been Grahamstown for me. But next year, I'm doing it for the last time as a practitioner, as a director, or I'll contribute to Grahamstown as a curator, as a producer, and other things. But directing next year is my last year.
Okay.
And this year I'm doing a play, which we're going to show 20 minutes of it. Next week, Friday, at the Tembisa Theatre Week.
Asingene lapho asingene lapho. Yini Tembisa Theatre Week? We know it happens annually. Qala nini, phela nini? What should we expect from there?
Tembisa Theatre Week, it's a theatre program that I founded in 2016. After founding the TX Theatre as a performance space, we began to think about what would be a model that would feed the theatre to bring shows to the theatre. And now I thought of the Tembisa Theatre Week, and also embedded in the knowledge of the fashion weeks in the world, you know, because they became the biggest weeks of entertainment and high profit and high attendance and high attention. So I thought of the Tembisa Theatre Week. based on that methodology and ideologies around the weeks of fashion. And then I founded the Tembisa Theatre Week in 2016, and we did Tembisa Theatre Week annually from 2016 to this year. So this is the ninth edition of the Tembisa Theatre Week. And the Tembisa Theatre Week is a festival where production are premiering at the TX Theatre. These productions have never been seen anywhere except for student productions because they do exams with them, they show them at school and whatnot. But all the productions that are not university based, they're going to premiere for the first time at the TX Theatre. And we first Temisa Theatre Week we had 6 productions. Second we had 10, and then it was growing. And I did Tembisa Theatre Week I think for 6 years. And then when I stopped curating and directing the Tembisa Theatre Week, I was on 22 productions. And then Giftan Gobeni took over as the artistic director of the festival. And then from 22 productions, he has 32 productions this year. And all those productions will be on this stage from the 21st of...
All 32 of them?
All 32 productions
Damn.
will be on this stage from
Okay.
the 22nd of February to the 2nd of March. Back to back, Baba. Tickets are on web ticket. They from 40 Rand, and the highest ticket I think is 80 Rand. So that's what will be happening in the coming week. And I'll be doing the opening, but I'll be showing one of my plays that I'm writing now. I'll show 20 minutes of it on the 21st of...
Usho le play uyibhalisa use-America?
So it has lived, it has won awards.
Okay.
So this one I wrote.
So ngipulomini award winner yi.
Joe.
Afethu, you know, I
Joe.
always roll with the winners.
Joe.
I rub shoulders with the winners.
We leave no stones unturned.
Yeah, most
So
definitely.
there's the Tembisa Theatre Week. And also in the awards, there's an award called the Best of Tembisa Theatre Week.
Sure.
That we award every year. And also there is a Grootman, a friend of mine, Luanda Msidia, who saw the model working and is doing the Val Theatre Week, you know, which is he took it and
Sure.
no, Katlego Dlamini.
Sure.
They're curating it differently. So they had 2 editions. So this year they're going on their 3rd edition, which is also the Val Theatre Week, but also is part of the Tembisa Theatre Week. And we had the Cape Town Theatre Week. Rest in peace to Osiza, who was doing the Cape Town Theatre Week. And of the Limpopo Theatre Week.
Wow.
We recently had the Free State Theatre Week, and now we're in conversation.
Yeah.
I know I'm not supposed to do this, but to put pressure on the South African State Theatre, we're doing, we don't know what we're going to call it, but it's a theatre week. It's either Tshwane Theatre Week or the South African State Theatre Week.
Sure.
So this is
the concept is growing.
The concept, we want it to be national. We want it to be everywhere. So also we're thinking of Mpumalanga Theatre Week. And everyone who's interested really to do a theatre week. And Alex is also in a warm conversation about Alex Theatre Week. So we are not sure. I'll talk
Unomuntu
to
KZN ubheki quantum uyakuzuringa kanje naye fere uinterested ukuthi angayishaya maybe KZN Theatre Week. Ucontacta kanjani?
Mxolisi Masilela on Facebook. info@txtheatreproductions.co.za. WhatsApp 071-514-2823. I respond quickly on Facebook and on WhatsApp.
Sure.
Yeah.
Uthiyami asiringe international experience yakho uthiyami. Yo bekunjani kuba Orkanta uthiyami? Number 1 ubaya ama country ayingaki? What was your best country? And bekunjani kuba because kunabantu mfethu bangakazi baphume la ngeTembisa. Yeah, so siyaba inspire, siyaba motivate ukuthi hayi mfethu there's more to life.
I mean, my first experience of living South Africa was going to Botswana. And that experience was under the leadership of Professor.
How prof of it.
Yeah, we went to a festival called Maitisong Theatre Festival, which was kind of weird because I've never left a country since then. And then it was in 2006 or 7. I was still in high school. First experience of living the country. And the second one, I went to Gabon. And when I returned from Gabon, I went to Zimbabwe. From Zimbabwe, I went to Australia, and from Australia, I came back and I began a journey with a festival called the Fiti International Theatre Festival in Mozambique. I've been going to Fiji. I think this will be my 7th year going to Fiji. I've been to Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. in America. I've been to New York twice. I've been to L.A. I've been to Atlanta. I've been to Liverpool. I've been to Manchester. Recently,
Tjena
in
Sibisi sithi sivevi
London.
Manchester, sivevi Liverpool. Uyicaba 99. Uyicaba live out
Yeah.
yami.
So recently I was in Manchester, Liverpool, London, then New York from October.
Kuyabanda vele London out yami.
Yeah, Gabanda, but we survived. I mean, we
Plus
are
within this
having,
scarf that keeps you warm.
more warmer. So yeah, from October to this year, I was in Manchester, Liverpool, London, New York. So those were my last places I've been. And my favorite countries, all of them, all these cities are amazing and countries they're
Sure,
good.
and you need different experience.
Yeah, but Maputo, Mozambique has been my favorite for
Okay.
some weird reasons. I do not even feel like I'm going to a festival. I feel like I'm going to this amazing experience. I love Mozambique so much. I don't know why. But my meaning she's
Imagine out yami abanye abantu I believe abantu bacabanga ukuthi uzoringa ngabo London, ngabo America. Kanti hayi, favorite khona la next door.
Oh, yeah. ngihamba ngebhasi,
Sure.
So Maputo has been my favorite. Mozambique has been my favorite country for the past 6 years. There's this life about it, and there's humans, about
Sure.
it, and this richness of story that is untold, even that you could just find in people's faces when you walk around,
Okay.
or in a chopela driver that thinking when you talk to them, the amazing stories about Maputo that nobody writes about them.
Or i-transport yabo bayibiza ngeChopper.
Yeah, chopela. I love chopela. It's
okay.
very cheap. Maputo is not expensive. South Africa is more expensive than Mozambique. London is more expensive than New York.
Is it?
New York is way expensive than South Africa. 18 times expensive. So that has been, but beyond everything, traveling becomes the best university. I think I know as much and I understand as much because of traveling, and I'm grateful for the privileges and the gifts and the blessings of traveling because I learn so much. And now I'm in a program. I'm directing a play called Higher, which is a collaboration between the TX Theater and the University of California in Los Angeles, Riverside. 6 actors from America, and I've casted 6 actors from South Africa. And in London, we went to London just to explore this play. We went there to just rehearse this piece of work.
Abantu banemali bafethu. Thina
Thina
sirehezela i-accent la eTembisa Masilela. Kuyafly urehezela eLondon.
So we are going to LA now. After the theater week, I'll be doing my residency in LA, directing the play, which is it's a play that is looking into parallels and similarities between the 1964 of the civil rights movement and the fall of apartheid in 1994, and what were the similarities and also what were the similar ideologies that were built in 1964 and in 1994. So yeah, that play is written by a friend of mine, Professor Rick Hebby Hines, who lives in the US. I'm the director, and we have amazing collaborators. And Momo Matsunyane is in the show, Kim, Blanche, Adonis, Twarelo, Ntate Silolo, Giftango Beni, Mpomelesa, Faz, Jasmine. So these are amazing collaborators in this play, which is going to premiere hopefully this year in America, and late this year or early next year, we're going to stage it right here at the TX Theater. So yeah, I mean, that's what I'm busy with now. We published an anthology of the play that I've written and other plays that we're publishing in the existence of TX Theatre. And we are writing my 10 years experience of the Tembisa Theatre Week, which we want to publish by Jan next year before the 10th annual of the Tembisa Theatre Week. So, yeah, man, traveling has given me an opportunity to see life differently, to also appreciate and also look at the things that I have in abundance, I have stories in abundance.
Sure.
I have a community in abundance. I have knowledge, I have wisdom, I have ancestors, I have faith, I have God, I have all of those in abundance. And when you travel, you begin to appreciate that. And we have good food, dog. South Africa, we have good food, you know.
Okay. No one lunga.
That's it. Hey. I mean, you know,
Sure.
hotels. I mean, we're not street kids.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Hotel is not that homey, but it's a strategy, you know.
Sure. Too much junk.
Too much junk.
Yeah.
But good food is in
Sure.
South Africa. For me.
Oh, good food is in South Africa.
I've been to London, been to America, been to all of these places.
And I believe most upumile mawubuye country appreciate more.
Joe. Oh, there's a story. Oh, Bamba, America. So, University of Michigan gifted me with books, you know, about 60 books. So, these books, they had the University of Michigan barcode. So, America does not play. So, when I got to the airport, the books have the barcode. I said, yeah, but they gifted me. And then those border security people, they said, no, this is the property of the university. You stole these things. And they said, yeah, we cannot communicate with them with their phone. We need to send them an email. You know, I stayed there for 4 hours.
Imagine.
And then it was cleared, and I came back with those books. I read all of them now. So
you had to. You had to.
I went through.
You had to.
Through a lot.
Sure.
For those books.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, my friend. That's what traveling is for me.
Most definitely. In closing, ungathini kuma subscribers with your content. Any message to abantu baserenkeni? Yiba abantu baserenkeni ringa nabo Thia. Na camera yakho ringa nabo.
Abantu baserenkeni
Sure.
Subscribe bani kule channel, because everything that we are saying, even when we are long gone, this thing is going to remain immortal. So we are archiving what we are doing. We are archiving education. We are archiving history. We are archiving us. We are archiving our work and everything that we are doing. So without your subscriptions, people might not know of our existence and the things that we're doing. And also know that by subscribing to this channel, you'd have access to the TX Theater and you'd have access to stories, infinite stories. So Bafethu, please subscribe, hit the notification button. We'll let you know when we upload stuff. Siyabonga Bafethu. Abanemali also sponsor the channel and make sure that it grows. Thank you so much, Mpintshana, to spend time with us at the TX Theater with your beautiful crew. It was amazing having a chat with you.
Allow me to appreciate your humbleness, ne growth because of, bro, you're appreciating everyone.
Sure.
Abanye abantu kuba one man show yimi so basikhuluma nge-TX Theater uringe ngabantu ababhaya abanye abasekho la but bonke appreciate because of uyazi ukuthi mfethu 5 years are better than 1.
Hey man.
Most definitely.
Yeah,
sure siyabonga Thia, thank you for honoring the invitation.
Anytime.
All the best TX Theater, all the best Tembisa Theater Week and everything that you're doing. Keep on representing us. Ndizele phezulu Thia. That's it from your boy Kem Snash. All I can say to you, Bafethu, 8 till we meet again. Awe.